3 ways Kyle turns dark after Claire dumps him. Given how badly his love life is failing, Y&R spoilers suggest that Kyle Abbott, Michael Miller, is in a downward spiral. The cards seem stacked against wily Kyle, who doesn't get why putting a $5 million price tag on his girlfriend's head might turn her off. Let's take a sneak peek at what could be in store for Kyle going forward. 1. Kyle's bossiness makes Claire walk. Due to his own overly assertive actions, the relationship between Kyle and Claire Newman, Hayley Erin, is currently in trouble. We predict that Claire will push Kyle away if he pulls one more trick because she is sick of being manipulated. While Kyle says he's going to give Claire time and space, his actions refute this. And she especially didn't like the way he told Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, to back away from her. Then there's the Audra Charles, Zuleika Silva, chaos, the rushed proposal, and the secret deal with Victor Newman, Eric Braeden. Kyle doesn't know when to say when, and if Claire dumps him he will be devastated. 2. Kyle forces Claire and Holden hook up. Kyle could very well end up pushing Claire into Holden's willing arms. Telling Holden to stay away from Claire enraged her, and as we know, he has orders from his boss Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, to get close to her. If Claire and Kyle break up, she could turn to Holden out of resentment, boredom, or genuine attraction. Kyle will most likely struggle and commit an error if this occurs. 3. Kyle stews over Jabot. If Claire leaves him, Kyle can turn to work for solace. His dad, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, will need his help to fend off Kane and Victor's hostile offensives. However, when it comes to Jabot, he has demonstrated that he is a loose cannon. Victor is gunning for Jabot, but Jack could form an alliance with him as the lesser of 2 evils when it comes to Kane. Defending his family company will turn Kyle into a man focused on revenge, and that's never a good place to dwell. But that may be all he has left if Claire well and truly lets him go. Tell us, Y&R fans. Do you think Kyle is capable of turning to the dark side in the coming days and weeks? Be sure to catch up on everything happening with the young and the restless right now. Come back here often for the hottest Y&R updates, news, and spoilers. Get comfortable and gain access to the best soap intel on the web. The unraveling of Kyle Abbott's world is nothing short of a Greek tragedy played out in the glittering boardrooms, parks, and coffee houses of Genoa City. And if there is one thing fans of the young and the restless know, it's that Kyle's greatest weakness has always been his inability to let go, of power, of love, of control, and now that Claire Newman seems poised to walk away from him, the stage is set for a dark metamorphosis that will not only reshape his personal life but also ripple outward, to touch every corner of his family, his business, and his reputation. To understand why Kyle might spiral into a darker, more destructive version of himself, it's important to trace the chain reaction of choices that led him here. The rushed proposal that seemed more like a trap than a gift, the secret $5 million deal with Victor that Claire discovered not through him but through her grandfather's offhanded mention, and his constant attempts to draw hard lines around Holden Novak, the man he views as both a rival and a threat. Each of these choices paints a picture of a man whose love comes laced with possessiveness, whose gestures of devotion feel more like power plays, and whose inability to step back when needed makes him not a romantic hero but a suffocating partner. Claire, young, independent, and scarred by her own difficult family history, sees through these maneuvers, and while Victoria counsels patience and forgiveness, Claire's frustration builds like pressure under glass, waiting for the inevitable shatter. The question is not whether she will dump him, rather, how he will react when she does, and if soap opera history and spoilers are any guide, the answer is that Kyle Abbott will not accept rejection with grace. Instead, 3 pathways stretch before him, each darker than the last: the collapse of his relationship due to his own bossiness and control issues, the bitter irony of pushing Claire directly into Holden's arms, and the dangerous refuge of throwing himself into Jabot's corporate wars, where revenge becomes his only love language. First, there is the scenario in which Kyle's overbearing nature becomes the final straw that drives Claire away. Already, Claire has bristled at his efforts to manage her relationships, to dictate whom she can see, to protect her in ways that feel more like domination than care. His demand that Holden back off was less about her well-being and more about his inability to tolerate competition, and Claire, who has fought long and hard to carve out her own identity beyond being a Newman, sees such behavior as a threat to her autonomy. If Kyle pulls even one more stunt, Claire's resolve to end things will crystallize, And when that moment comes, Kyle will not simply be hurt, he will be devastated, unmoored, and ripe for a descent into darker impulses. The truth is, Kyle has never learned the delicate art of space in relationships. He confuses passion with pressure, commitment with control, and when those lines blur, love becomes suffocation. His history with Summer, with Lola, and now with Claire proves that his pattern is self-sabotage, and if Claire walks, his heartbreak will not transform into quiet reflection but into obsession, a dangerous fixation on what he has lost and why he believes he deserves to get it back. The second pathway, and perhaps the cruelest twist of all, is that Kyle's very attempt to shield Claire from Holden may be the thing that delivers her straight into Holden's waiting arms. Soap history thrives on irony, and there is nothing more ironic than the possibility that Kyle's heavy-handed attempts to keep Holden at bay only succeed in making Holden look like the more appealing choice. Holden, guided by Kane's orders to get close to Claire, is already circling with strategic charm. Claire's vulnerability and her anger at Kyle's possessiveness make her susceptible to Holden's appeal, and he is presented as both a confidant and a potential lover. Whether out of genuine attraction, spite, or the need to feel seen rather than managed, Claire could very well find herself leaning on Holden in the wake of a breakup with Kyle. If this happens, the fallout for Kyle will be catastrophic, because not only will he lose the woman he loves, but he will lose her to the man he hates most, a man he already suspects of ulterior motives. That kind of betrayal would not simply wound Kyle, it would inflame him, pushing him toward reckless behavior, perhaps attempts to sabotage Claire and Holden, or worse, to destroy Holden at any cost. Kyle has shown flashes of temper before, but heartbreak combined with jealousy could transform him into a darker version of himself, a man less interested in redemption and more obsessed with retribution. The third and possibly most perilous route is Kyle's internalization of his pain and rage toward Jabot, his only friend. If Claire leaves him, the family company becomes both his battlefield and his refuge, the place where he can pour his fury into something that feels productive, even if it is destructive. Jack Abbott, wise yet weary, will need Kyle's help as Victor circles like a shark and Kane maneuvers from the shadows with his AI software and shady alliances. But Kyle, unhinged by personal loss, is unlikely to approach Jabot's struggles with measured logic. Instead, he will bring his vengeful, impulsive energy to the table, making decisions based on spite rather than strategy. In this scenario, Jabot ceases to be a family legacy and becomes Kyle's outlet for rage, his stage for revenge, his way of proving to the world, and perhaps to himself, that he cannot be broken. The danger here is clear. A man who lets heartbreak dictate business decisions is a man who risks everything, and if Kyle loses control of Jabot, he won't just lose a company, he will lose the last tether keeping him from complete collapse. Kyle, like Billy, has the potential to spiral into a cycle of rash decisions, reckless alliances, and bitter feuds that leaves him isolated, mistrusted, and on the verge of ruin. The parallels to Billy's self-destructive tendencies are hard to ignore. What makes this potential storyline so gripping for fans is the way it mirrors Kyle's journey from golden boy to tortured anti-hero. He has always carried the Abbott name like both a privilege and a burden, struggling to balance the weight of expectation with the reckless impulses of his own heart. Claire's rejection could be the catalyst that tips him fully into darkness, transforming him from a flawed but sympathetic lover into a man defined by obsession, jealousy, and revenge. The echoes of Jack's warnings, Victoria's counsel, and Claire's pleas for trust will haunt him, but in his pain, he may not hear them. Instead, he will stew, plot, lash out, and perhaps burn bridges so completely that rebuilding them will be impossible. And yet, because this is Genoa City, redemption always lingers on the horizon. The same darkness that threatens to consume Kyle could also serve as the crucible that forces him to grow, to confront his flaws, to learn the difference between love and control, between devotion and obsession. The intriguing question is still whether he chooses that path of development or continues to descend further into ruin. For viewers, the prospect of Kyle turning dark is thrilling not because they want him destroyed but because they want to see him tested, stretched, forced to confront the parts of himself he has long ignored. Will he sabotage Holden? Will he alienate Jack and risk Jabot? Will he spiral into self-destructive habits like drinking, gambling, or reckless affairs? Or will he, in the ashes of heartbreak, find the strength to rebuild himself into a man worthy of the love he craves? These are the questions that will keep fans glued to their screens, debating online, and speculating about spoilers. The beauty of The Young and the Restless lies in its ability to take characters we think we know and push them into uncharted territory, revealing new layers of complexity, and Kyle's potential turn to the dark side is exactly the kind of storyline that could dominate not just weeks but months of drama. In the end, the three routes are not mutually exclusive. They may bleed into one another, overlap, or intertwine. Kyle's bossiness could drive Claire away, his jealousy could push her into Holden's arms, and his heartbreak could fuel a vengeful crusade at Jabot. The dominoes are already falling, and the only certainty is that Kyle Abbott, once the charming scion of the Abbott family, is standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss of his own worst instincts. His fate, Jabot's future, the power balance in Genoa City, and the Abbott family's legacy will all be affected by his decision to back off or dive in head first.